Today's lesson is fat is bad. Is that a fact? Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to continue talking about fat. And last time, of course, we told you two different kinds of fat, maybe three. There are unsaturated fats, which are good, and then saturated fats are bad, along with trans fats.
Yes, so we have these three types of fats. So when doctors these days tell us actually eating a bit of fat is good for you, they're probably referring to, or they're talking about, unsaturated fats because we need those fats in order to stay healthy. We need those fats for cell growth and to support our immune system. So not all fats are created equal. There are good fats and there are bad fats.
Indeed, and remember last time, of course, we tried to dispel some myths about fat. Of course, we just touched on that a little bit. Some myths are that all fat is bad. Actually, some fat is good. And then, of course, we also talked about the evil cousins of unsaturated fats, saturated fats. And then we also listed some foods which contain good fats and foods which contain bad fats. And we'll give you some more information about fats in today's lesson. Let's try to dispel some more of those myths. Let's listen to the first part and find out if eating fat makes you fat.
Eating fat makes you fat. You might think eating fat results in weight gain more easily than eating protein or carbohydrates, since a gram of fat contains more calories than a gram of protein or carbs. But our bodies convert extra calories from carbohydrates and protein into fat, so these two substances can ultimately cause weight gain as well. Though high in fat, foods like nuts and seeds make us feel full easily, so we actually end up eating less.
各位好，第一部分我们看到名词 protein 表示蛋白质，例如 Nuts and tofu are great sources of protein for people who don't eat meat. 坚果和豆腐对不吃肉的人来说是很好的蛋白质来源。或是 Protein is very important for muscle growth. 蛋白质对肌肉生长非常重要。再来我们看到单字 carbohydrate， 这个字是名词，指碳水化合物。举例来说Pastas and grains are good sources of carbohydrates. 意大利面和谷物是好的碳水化合物来源。再举一个例子 Whole wheat bread is a good source of complex carbohydrates. 全麦面包是好的复合式碳水化合物来源。
So we're going to look at some more myths about fats now. And another myth that we often hear is that if you eat fat, you will get fat. So avoid fat in your diet if you want to stay thin. However, that's not completely true either. It says here, you might think eating fat results in weight gain more easily than eating protein or carbohydrates, since a gram of fat contains more calories than a gram of protein or carbs. So carbs here refers to carbohydrates. It's just a shorter way of saying that very long word. And we are also talking about two specific substances that are often found in the foods we eat, protein and carbohydrates. So protein is something that's commonly found in meat, eggs, and milk, and you need proteins in order to grow and to be healthy. We also eat carbohydrates every time we eat sugar, pasta, potato, rice, and starchy foods like that. So when we're trying to lose weight, we often try to avoid eating fat, but we don't really think about avoiding protein or carbohydrates. But the thing is, there are calories in carbohydrates and protein too. So if you eat a lot of that, or a lot of those, you can also get fat.
Right, so that was the thinking as far back as the 1970s. If you don't want to get fat, then don't eat fat, because eating fat makes you fat. At least that's what they thought back then. But now we realize, of course, that that is a myth. Okay, so indeed, a lot of people just started to eat more protein and more carbohydrates. And the reason we think that fat is bad, it's because a gram of fat contains more calories than a gram of protein or carbs. So again, do your mathematics. Of course, a lot of people follow diet plans in which they just simply measure the amount of calories that they consume and then the amount of calories that they burn off when they exercise.
Right, so calories are a unit for measuring how much energy we get from food. So if we eat a lot of food and we consume a lot of calories, then we have to have some way of burning off those calories, of using them up. And this can be done through exercise, for instance. So even though fat contains more calories than protein or carbs, when we're talking about the same amount of each of the three, the fact is that all three substances can make us fat.
Right, so calories from fat are different to calories that come from protein or carbohydrates. And we're saying here our bodies convert extra calories from carbohydrates and protein into fat. So if you convert something, you change it. For example, maybe you wrote a document using a very old version of Microsoft Word in the past, and the current word processor that you're using can't read it, so you need to convert the old file. You need to change it so that it can be used with modern software. And that's what our bodies do with calories from carbohydrates and protein. Our bodies convert them into fat, and ultimately, these two substances can ultimately cause weight gain as well. So ultimately just means in the end. You could also say eventually. So yes, indeed, if you eat a lot of protein and carbohydrates, in the end, you'll get fat.
Right. So for the word ultimately, I could also say, as an example, we wanted to go to the park, but we ultimately decided to stay home because it was too hot outside to be in the park. So ultimately just means in the end, we decided to do something else in this context. So we convert calories into fat, and that is also the case when we eat protein and carbohydrates. So why is eating fat better? Why is eating unsaturated fat sometimes a better idea than eating protein or carbohydrates and getting the calories from there? Well, the reason is that when we eat unsaturated fat from sources like seeds and nuts, those foods make us feel full more easily. So we end up eating less food than we would if we ate protein and carbs like pasta and meats and things like that. So it says here, though high in fat, foods like nuts and seeds make us feel full easily, so we actually end up eating less.
Exactly. So yeah, include some fat in your diet and make sure the fat comes from unsaturated fats and not so much from saturated fats. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson. Let's move on now to the next part.
Fat raises cholesterol levels. Just as fats can be healthy or unhealthy, cholesterol can be either good or bad. Consuming large amounts of saturated and trans fats leads to the production of bad cholesterol, which can block arteries and increase the risk of strokes. Conversely, eating foods high in unsaturated fats helps increase good cholesterol, which can collect bad cholesterol in the blood and deliver it to the liver, where it's eliminated.
第二部分我们看到名词 cholesterol 表示胆固醇。例如 according to your health report, you should be keeping an eye on your cholesterol level. 根据你的健检报告，你应该注意你的胆固醇含量。再来我们看到名词 artery 指动脉。例如 Reginald had to have surgery for a blocked artery. Reginald 动脉阻塞，需要动手术。或是Consuming too much fat may cause your arteries to become clogged. 摄取过多脂肪可能会造成你的动脉阻塞。接着我们看到单字 conversely， 这个字是副词，指相反的或是反过来的。例如 My friend hates exercise and takes the bus to work. Conversely, I bike to work every day. 我朋友讨厌运动，搭公车上班。相反的，我每天骑车上班。或是I love playing sports. Conversely, my friend prefers playing the guitar in her spare time. 我喜欢运动。相反的，我朋友更喜欢在闲暇时间弹吉他。
So let's move on to the next myth concerning fat, and that is fat raises cholesterol levels. So before we talk about why that's a myth, let's see what cholesterol is. Cholesterol is a substance that's found in your body, and it's found in particular in your blood. So if you have too much cholesterol, if you eat too much of those foods that contain a lot of cholesterol, then your cholesterol level can go up, and that might result in heart disease and blocked arteries and a lot of things that you want to avoid, a lot of unhealthy results.
Exactly. So again, that's the myth here. Fat raises cholesterol levels, and we're going to try to dispel that myth as well. So here it says, just as fats can be healthy or unhealthy, cholesterol can be either good or bad. So remember, there are good fats. Those are the unsaturated ones. And there are bad fats, the saturated ones, or the trans fats. And cholesterol, well, we've got good cholesterol and bad cholesterol as well. So again, you need to know which foods contain good cholesterol and which ones contain bad cholesterol. And the myth, again, is that fat raises those cholesterol levels. That's the myth we're trying to break down.
Right. So if you eat a lot of saturated and trans fats, those are the bad fats, then that can lead to the production of bad cholesterol. And why is this type of cholesterol bad? Because they can block arteries and increase the risk of strokes. So that's another reason why people should avoid or cut down eating saturated fats and trans fats, because these fats can raise your cholesterol level. And when you have a high cholesterol level, you can have problems with blocked arteries, and you can be at a higher risk of getting a stroke. An artery here is a part of your body. It's a tube in your body that carries blood away from the heart. The tube that carries blood to your heart, on the other hand, is called a vein.
Right. Arteries and veins and cholesterol, of course, can block arteries, and you will increase your risk of strokes. A stroke is when, I guess, a blood vessel breaks open in a part of your body, most often in the brain. And zhongfeng, I believe, is the term in Chinese. So again, if you eat a lot of saturated fats and trans fats, that can produce bad cholesterol, and that can block arteries and possibly lead to strokes. Now, conversely, eating foods high in unsaturated fats helps increase good cholesterol, which can collect bad cholesterol in the blood and deliver it to the liver, where it's eliminated. Like the liver is sort of your body's garbage disposal unit. Now, when you change the focus of an essay, you're saying one thing about something else, and then you're going to say something sort of opposite in the next sentence, then you can use the word conversely. It kind of introduces the next idea or the next statement that is kind of the opposite of what we were just talking about.
Right. For instance, I could say you can save all your money and then you will have a lot of money to spend later on. Conversely, if you spend all your money now, then later on you will have no money.
That's right. So you'll have to work hard to save that money back again. So again, eating those bad fats can cause all sorts of problems, but conversely, to the opposite of that, eating foods high in unsaturated fats helps increase good cholesterol. And then if you have good cholesterol in your body, that can collect bad cholesterol in the blood and then take it to the liver. And then there it will be eliminated. And here we've got the verb to eliminate. That just means to get rid of something. If you're a member of a criminal gang or something and somebody in another criminal gang is doing something bad, well, you can try to eliminate them. You can try to get rid of them so they'll no longer be trouble to you. Of course, we don't recommend you doing that, but unfortunately that does happen with criminal gangs sometimes.
Right. So unsaturated fats basically act as a transportation system for bad cholesterols. And that's why one should try to incorporate unsaturated fats into one's diet. Because if you eat things like nuts and avocados and seeds and good things like that, then those things, once they get in your body, they can transport the bad cholesterol from your arteries and then bring them to the liver. And the liver is like the processing unit where all of the stuff that your body doesn't need get eliminated. They are thrown away. They are excreted from the body so that you can stay healthy and you won't have all of that bad cholesterol remaining in your veins and arteries.
Okay, we're going to move on now to the third and final portion of our lesson for today, and we'll wrap things up.
The conclusion is simple. Avoid unhealthy fats and incorporate healthy ones into your diet. Have some avocado toast for lunch or a handful of nuts as a snack. With these simple dietary adjustments, you'll be on the path to good health.
第三部分我们看到片语 incorporate into 或是 incorporate in 指纳入点点点。例如 It's important to incorporate some free time into your day. 将一些空闲时间纳入一天的生活是很重要的。或是 I think we need to incorporate more children's activities into our event. 我认为我们应该把更多孩童的活动纳入活动项目中。另外这个字也有将点点点并入的意思。例如 Let's see if we can incorporate this idea into our new line of products. 我们看看是否能将这个概念融入到我们的新产品线中。最后我们看到名词 adjustment. 这个字有调整或是调节的意思。例如The employees will go through a period of adjustment while the new management takes over. 新的管理部门接手时，员工会经历一段调试期。或是 When I became vegetarian, I made many adjustments to the way I ate. 我开始吃素后，饮食习惯做了很多调整。
So we've arrived at the conclusion of our examination of fats. So there are good fats and bad fats, and not all fat is good or bad, and you should actually eat some of them, the good ones, because the good ones do good things to your body and it helps you stay healthy. So what is the actual conclusion? What is the takeaway about fats? Well, the conclusion is simple. Avoiding unhealthy fats and incorporate healthy ones into your diet. So it's very simple. You just try to not eat the bad fats and you try to eat the good ones by incorporating the good ones, the healthy ones, into your diet. When you incorporate something into something else, you're including it as part of that something else. So for instance, I could say, the teacher liked my essay, but she said next time I should incorporate more of my own feelings into my writing.
Indeed, that would be very important to write an effective essay. And also for a healthy lifestyle, you could incorporate exercise into your daily activities. Try to work out maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and you'll be healthy. And also, of course, have a good diet that is low in saturated fats and high in unsaturated fats. That sounds like pretty good advice. So yes, we have a pretty simple conclusion here. Incorporate the healthy kinds of fats into your diet. You get the idea. Have some avocado toast for lunch or a handful of nuts as a snack. Those are some good pieces of advice, and I think avocados are available in supermarkets and markets all over Taiwan, and I don't think they're too expensive.
Well, the local ones aren't expensive, and the local ones are quite good. So I would try to stay away from the imported ones because there have been some problems recently with pesticides or something. Just go local, always get local vegetables. Don't try to get the more expensive ones that travel thousands of kilometers to get here.
Indeed. And yeah, they could have picked up some solar radiation en route here. Who knows? But you could also have a handful of nuts, maybe some walnuts or almonds or something like that. You can have that as a snack, and it will keep you full until dinner time. With these simple dietary adjustments, you'll be on the path to good health. So yes, dietary means having to do with your diet. And yes, if you go to a nutrition store, you can buy dietary supplements like vitamins and things like that. And these are dietary adjustments, which are small little changes. So yeah, maybe you already have a pretty good diet, but you could have some adjustments and make it even better.
Right. So for the word adjustment, I could say the cake I made was good, but next time I will make some minor adjustments or small changes to the recipe to make it even better.
Yeah, or my eyeglasses don't fit very well, so I'm going to go into the eyeglasses store and get some adjustments or have them adjusted. You could say that as the verb to adjust something, and the noun is an adjustment. And if you make those dietary adjustments, you'll be on the path to good health. On the path to just means on your way to something. You're not there yet, but you're doing a good job of getting there.
Right. And of course, when we talk about fat, we're talking about staying healthy. So a lot of emphasis these days are put on how we look. We don't want to look fat, and then we sometimes might think when somebody looks fat that they should try to lose weight because they don't look very good that way. They don't look appealing. But in the end, we're all born differently. Some people are born heftier and some other people are born thinner. But the most important thing when we talk about fat is health. So we want to stay healthy. That should be our top priority.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's now listen to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分最后有提到，像坚果和种子这样的食物，虽然脂肪含量高，但是会让我们容易有饱足感，所以我们最后其实会吃的比较少。那文中用到 end up eating less 来表达最后吃的比较少。这边我们就来学习片语动词 end up 的用法。end up 它表示说最后结果怎么样，最后处于某个状况。那常常用来表达在非预期的情况下呢，以某个出乎意料的结果告终。那特别注意的是 end up 它是不及物用法，后面是要接补语。这个补语你可以用名词、形容词、现在分词、过去分词、介系词片语等等。我们来造两个例句。The letter ended up in the trash can. 就是说那封信最后出现在垃圾桶里了。Melvin originally wanted to be a lawyer, but he ended up working in the travel industry. Melvin 本来是想当律师，但他最后却是在旅游业工作。另外有一个片语 wind up， 它也可以用来表达相同语义哦。这个 wind 也就是跟风 wind 那个字是同一个字，只是呢在这边它是念作 wind， 它本来有这种转动，像转动把手啊，或者是有缠绕使什么迂回的意思。那它的动词三态是 wind, wound, wound。那么片语 wind up 它字面呢就有这种卷起把它绞紧的那种意思。那当不及物用的时候呢，我们可以用来表达结果怎么样，以什么告终，落得怎么样的结果，就会跟 end up 的意思跟用法一样咯。举例来说， They wound up spending the entire day at home because of the heavy rain. 因为下大雨的关系，结果他们整天都待在家里没出门。好，那课文第二部分最后一句提到说，摄取富含不饱和脂肪的食物有助于增加好的胆固醇。那它可以收集血液中的坏胆固醇，并且把它送到肝脏，那坏胆固醇就会在那边被清除掉了。文中是用到 eliminate 这个动词来表达消灭、清除。我们来学它的字首字根。好， eliminate 它的字首一是来自 ex， 表示向外或是离开的意思。那么字根 limin 表示门槛、门口。那么 ate 是动词字尾，使什么向外离开，走出大门离开，把它赶到门外面去了。这样应该可以联想到 eliminate 它有清除、剔除、排除的意思。我们顺便补充一个有相同字根的单字是 preliminary， 它是拼作 preliminary， preliminary， 它的字首 pre 表示在什么之前，然后字根 limin 表示门槛、门口。那么至于 ary 是形容词字尾。同学们可以试着去想，人都还站在门口，在门前，还没有进到房子里面，这就像是事情它都还在初步阶段，还没有进入主要的重点阶段。我们用这样的方式，也许可以联想到 preliminary 它有起始的、初步的那种意思。好，以上是今天重点整理， 我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Protein. Henry is trying to gain weight, so he works out and eats a lot of protein. Calorie. Counting calories is the most effective way to lose weight. Convert. Plants absorb light from the sun and convert it into food energy. Ultimately. Percy resisted the idea at first, but he ultimately agreed to it. Eliminate. Samantha is trying to eliminate unhealthy foods from her diet. Adjustment. The mechanic made a few small adjustments to the car's engine.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Okay, it's time now for our discussion starter for today. Here's the question. What was the most surprising or interesting thing you learned from the article?
Well, I had always thought that nuts were not so good for us because I was always told that nuts were fattening, like walnuts and almonds, so I shouldn't eat too much of those. But I was surprised to learn that they're actually good for us, so I should probably incorporate a handful of them into my daily diet as a snack.
Well, I found it really interesting that beef, pork, and chicken fat is not good for us. I remember when I was a kid and I would eat steak, that fat was my favorite part. It was so much fun to chew on those pieces of fat. I never would have imagined that they're bad for us. Now I know better. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.